Hot take, Cam Ward played his worst game as a Tennessee Titan on Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've watched the All-22 film. Justin and I are going to grade Cam Ward's performance and discuss what went wrong and what it means for him as a player. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo and Justin. Today's episode makes me sad. How's it going?
Well, I think I'm still doing well, despite the sad, maybe you should put some sad music at the beginning here.
Okay.
The sad theme of today's episode. We got a chance to watch Sunday's game, the All-22 Titans-Jags. We said we would come back with a Cam Ward in-depth review, and you and I were really hoping he was going to play well in this game. Outside of the obvious reasons, we really enjoyed doing like a tape review last Monday. Well, not only did we not get a chance to do that this week on this episode, it was worse than imagined, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because, guys, I don't think you guys want to watch us go through the tape when it's bad for the most part. I mean,
some people might, but
some people might.
It's not fun.
Sure.
Let's be real.
It's not fun. It makes for a more somber episode, right? So for us to sit here and go through an hour of tape like we did last Monday, when it's all bad, it's probably not the most conducive thing for us to do. But you were hoping that reviewing, you actually said this yesterday, I think. You were hoping that reviewing the tape would maybe make you feel better about how Cam Ward. That's been the case a lot of times this year. When you watch Sunday and it didn't look like he played well, you go back and you say it's not as bad as maybe initially thought. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case this time around.
Yeah, I would say just about every game this year, I've come away from the All-22 feeling a little bit better than I did from the live TV copy watch.
Right.
And this week, I would say is the first time this season I came away feeling worse, not about Cam Ward and his future, about the performance in this particular game. And I want to start things by I went on a rant a few weeks ago where I said, not everything has to mean some big, giant thing. Like, some things can just be what they are. And I want to just get that out of the way by saying some context. Cam Ward has the worst environment of any quarterback in the National Football League, with the worst group of pass catchers and an offensive line that wasn't as bad as people want it to make it out to be, and that includes J.C. Latham, but still not an amazing. It's not like he's standing back there for 5 seconds of play. Not that a lot of quarterbacks get that, but there are a handful who do. And his coaching staff is god-awful. They are not aggressive. He's dealing with drop passes and guys running into each other down the field and guys not being where they're supposed to be on routes. All of those things are true. But all of those things were true against Seattle as well. And the contrast in how he played in that game, where he looked comfortable and confident, in control, like he'd been there a million times, like nothing the Seahawks defense did surprised him. He was like he got what he was expecting. He looked like he did at Miami when he was captaining the best offense in the country. And that's the contrast between what he did in the Seattle game and what he did in this game. This game wasn't good. Now, that doesn't mean every single play was bad. Like, he had a number of times where he hit the top of his drop, made a quick decision either against a blitz or against a pressure, or just saw his first read was open and got the ball out of his hands quickly. That happened a bunch of times. I don't want this to come off like he was terrible on every drop back either, because that's also just not the case.
I mean, no one necessarily is, but I think the point is he was probably bad on most dropbacks, right? Like, it wasn't.
No, actually, no. I wouldn't even say most dropbacks. I would say more than he has in any other game this year. I think half is too many to say he was bad on half. Okay. But it wasn't like, oh, he missed 2 throws, so we're going to hyperanalyze those 2 throws. And for me, it's not even about the missed throws so much as like the process in the pocket in this game was not the Cam Ward that I've come to know for the first 12 weeks of the season in week 13. So let's start with his grade, and then we'll sort of break down why the grade is what it is. And Justin, we went back and forth on this a little bit. I think like TV copy wise coming out of that game, I was willing to go as high as like C-, but All-22 revealed a little bit of a different story. And so we settled on a D-, the same as his lowest grade of the year against the Las Vegas Raiders. And you had a little bit of pushback for this grade because you said, well, he didn't have any turnovers, so you could maybe say it's not as bad as a game where he did turn the ball over. But at the same time, he did get stripped and lose the ball in the pocket. Now, a Titans player happened to jump on it this time, which had only happened, I think, once this entire season up to that point. So that's a reason he didn't turn the ball over, but he also didn't put it in harm's way in the passing game, although he did throw a couple that were deflected and could have been. Bad things could have happened. I'm looking at the process more than the result, and that's why I think it was his worst game. But because he didn't turn the ball over, and he did turn the ball over in the Raiders game, the grades are the same, but this was his worst game.
I think for me, this is probably on par with that Raiders game. I think that's fair because as much as he did turn the ball over in that Raiders game, I also think in that contest specifically, the supporting cast also did a hell of a job to let him down. Like, that was J.C. Latham's first game back from injury, the Raiders game. He was credited with giving up 3 sacks to, like, Max Crosby, right? Like, there were just times where the supporting cast was so terrible that they put him in a bad spot. Now, again, don't get me wrong. He was bad in that game. The supporting cast was bad in this game, but I ultimately think he just shoulders maybe a bit more of the blame in this one than he did in the Raiders game. And it's the contrast. I mean, you look at the graph, the Seahawks game, we gave him the highest grade he's had of the season at a B+. We come back to this one. You and I talked all week about hoping that he could build on that performance. We said it was going to be a bit of a roller coaster still the rest of the way. It's not always, progress isn't always linear, and you're going to go up and down, yada, yada, things of that nature. But ding me for the yada, yada. He ends up going backwards in this game. And I do think, and that was my initial thought on the TV copy. I think you and I slightly disagreed yesterday. I'm not saying it to pat myself on the back, but I thought the TV copy was bad. And you were hoping that when we got to the All-22, it would look better. But the honest truth is it didn't.
Yeah, I think so. As we get into why this was his worst game, I think like the best way I can say it is that there have been games this year where he's missed a couple plays that hurt the offense, missed a deep throw to Alec Iamanair, for example, or whatever. He's like missed a handful of throws at most, 2 to 5 at most in any game this year. And that those didn't help the offense, but the overall reason the offense performed poorly was everything around him breaking down. Constant pre-snap penalties, drop passes, bad running game, all of those things, right? In this one, I would say again for the first time this year, I think he held the offense back by playing slow. And he hasn't played slow all season. And I went on a rant just recently about how he does a great job maximizing his protection. He knows how long he has to get rid of the ball. He gets rid of the ball when he has to get rid of the ball. If his first read's not there, he holds it for an extra beat to give those guys time to get open. In this game, that was not the case. In this game, his internal clock was all kinds of messed up. I think maybe the early pressures or something, a guy who has been unrattleable so far in his NFL career was rattled. Big time rattled on Sunday. And he opens the game with an incredibly efficient first drive. That first drive was excellent. He went 6 for 7, I think, for 30 yards or 40 yards or something in that range on that first drive. And from then on, it was like they swapped him out with a different quarterback for the rest of the game. Way too many snaps where he has a pocket and he has guys down the field. And he starts getting happy feet, drifting left or right, trying to avoid a pressure that he thinks is going to come. But his offensive line or the running back or whoever in protection picks up whatever's coming, and he has that extra beat, but he's already bailed on the play. So it's too late, not trusting his protection. Can you blame him for not trusting his protection? But you still have to, as the quarterback, you still have to trust your protection in these instances. Checking it down before he needs to check it down as a deeper route is coming open. There's a lot of questions that I had watching the game live, like, is there just nobody open down the field? Why is he throwing it short so much in this game? There was, again, plenty of good plays. I'm not trying to say it was all bad, and I think that that's important, but more bad than we've seen in any other game. And those bad instances where he took the second sack, terrible sack to take. he had time and he had options to get rid of the ball. He had multiple checkdowns, one on each sideline. Like, he had the ability to get rid of that ball, and he took a sack. Later in the game, he's rolling outside the pocket trying to avoid pressure and like trying to stiff arm Josh Hines-Allen, I think, or a very big defensive tackle player. Of course, he's not going to be able to do that. I know he stiff armed Will Anderson Jr. earlier this year and got away from him, and he's been able to do that at times, but it's not going to work every time. And when he's got the bead on him that pass rusher had, you got to just throw the ball out of bounds sometimes. And he did that a few times. I'm not saying he didn't do it at all. I just think overall, he was late on multiple throws. A throw to Van Jefferson over the middle in the second half that gets broken up. He's late on the throw. He's late to get his eyes from one receiver to the next in his progression. It was just a sloppy game mechanically, processing. He was late. He was behind. And he left plays on the field, which I don't think I've been able to say he's left very many plays on the field this year. Like, it's not that he hasn't done it, but this game it was glaring. And I really think he's a bigger reason than he's been in any other game this year for the offense only scoring 3 points.
Yeah, I thought some of that was evident even on the TV copy, like Sunday. It just felt like he was in there too long. I think you could see the happy feet. The process, the timing, the internal clock, everything just seemed off, right? It wasn't clicking for him. I mean, you talk about how he's good on the first drive. I'm certainly not making excuses, but he doesn't touch the ball again until they're down 15-3, right? And I want to be clear, like we talk about the supporting cast. I wouldn't necessarily say it was good in this game. Like, you talk about penalties, they were whistled for 10 penalties in this game. Like, that's
Let me stop you there. The supporting cast was still bad.
Right. That's the point I wanted to get across.
Yeah.
Like, they were whistled for 10 penalties in this game. And I don't know how much of that came on offense or defense, what the split was, but I don't necessarily care, right? Like, they were still a sloppy, undisciplined football team. They fumbled 3 times. Now, one of that was him, but they recovered that one. The other 2, they did not recover, right? Shimere DK on the early kickoff, which is why they go down 15-3 before he touches the ball even a second time. And then Tony Pollard fumbles on the swing pass, late in that game. So supporting cast still wasn't good. I mean, the leading receiver had under 40 receiving yards again, and Cam's got to shoulder some of that blame. I get that. Tajay Spears led the team in receptions. He had 25 yards. He had 6 catches for 25 yards. This dink and dunk version of Cam Ward on Sunday was not the version that we're quite used to seeing. Their leading wide receiver was Van Jefferson, who had, I think, 3 catches for 20 yards. Like, we didn't see Alec Ioman or Shimere DK essentially do anything positive in this game. DK, again, had the lost fumble. It was a full-blown disaster out there. I mean, Xavier Restrepo picks up the ankle injury, though I didn't feel like didn't feel like they were playing him a ton early. I would have liked to see a little bit more of him before he got hurt, but it just feels like everything went wrong. J.C. Latham, who I don't think we'll spend time on, but, kind of continued the theme of mostly good, but a couple of glaringly terrible reps that they've been making their rounds on Twitter, maybe leading to a couple overreactions. But the point is, when he has a bad rep, it's like really, really bad. And we saw a couple of those in the Jacksonville game. And I thought the protection was okay at best. I wouldn't say it was great. It's probably just okay. But again, you can do something with okay. And Cam Ward did not do that on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think that's the distinction here, is that, like, it's not one person's fault that the offense only scores 3 points. It's not Mike McCoy's fault. It's not Bo Hardegree's fault. It's not J.C. Latham's fault. It's not Cam Ward's fault. He did have more support from the run game in this contest than he's had in many weeks, but because they fall into such a big hole, as you said yesterday, they don't have a chance to establish the run or lean on it or use play action because they're behind 15-3 on their second possession, and it only gets worse from there. And I do think that, like, the coaching staff can do a lot more to help him. Like, the easy buttons just don't exist. This team tries to run a screen. The first screen they run in this game gets flagged for holding. It's like every time they try to do something easy button like that, somebody messes it up somewhere, or they run a screen to Gunnar Helm. And who was his lead blocker on that play, Justin? James Prochet. One of the smallest receivers you have. Yeah, let's make him the lead blocker on a screen. That's really good design there because they'll never see it coming. Never mind the fact that James Prochet gets thrown into Gunnar Helm and he gets tackled for a 1-yard loss on the play. So yeah, a lot around him is totally broken. There was the play where Iamaner and DK collide with each other. That play would have been there. I watched the tape on that one. It wasn't even a jam. I thought watching it live that Alec Iamaner just couldn't get off a jam. He gets like shoulder leveled by a defensive end as he's coming off the line of scrimmage, just like absolutely wrecked, and throws off the whole play. DK's wrapping around on his little inside breaking route, and Cam lets it go really early because there's a blitz, and he sees the blitz, and it's a good play by Cam Ward. But because Alec Iamaner is getting rocked by a defensive end, he's in the path, and DK can't catch the ball. So that's not Cam Ward's fault. Alec Iamaner on the play after Cam Ward misses him late in the game on a 3rd down. They go for it on 4th down. It hits Iamaner in the breadbasket on a slant that he could have, if he had caught it, he could have taken that potentially to the end zone. I mean, that's the kind of space he had. And he just drops the pass right off his chest. So like those things are happening as well. It's not all on Cam Ward.
Dropped the 4th and 2.
Tony Pollard drops the 4th and 2. And on that play, and I said on Sunday that the pass has to be a little more on frame and it's not the best pass in the world. I take that back. Because when you watch it on all 22, at the moment that Cam Ward is winding up to throw, there is a defender, but basically between him and Pollard, not completely between, but on to his right. There to Cam's right, there is a defender. And Pollard makes a little move like he's going to be breaking this slightly back inside. And as soon as the ball comes out of Ward's hands, Pollard stops that movement and turns it back straight. So like that's just like it's nobody's fault. It's a miscommunication between Pollard and Ward. Pollard not reading what his quarterback wants him to do. Don't fake like you're going to run inside and then not run inside as the quarterback's releasing the ball. And it still hit him in the hands. That's on Pollard. There was another great throw later in the game where where Cam Ward throws a corner route to Chigakonkwo, who goes to the ground to catch it and can't come up with the catch. So like there's 3 major drops in this game. There's guys running into each other. Even the 3rd down before that Iamaner drop where Ward missed Iamaner on like the little wheel route thing. I think it's a miscommunication also. I think Iamaner kind of spun a weird way. It came out of his break kind of slow and didn't get his head around to find the ball. And it looks like a miss live, and maybe it is a miss, but there's also some miscommunication stuff there. That's not to say Ward didn't have some misses, because he definitely did. There's one that he's just laid on to DK over the middle, and it's like almost intercepted, closer to the defender than it is to DK. There were plenty of times that happened. And I think the biggest concern coming out of this game is Cam Ward developing any bad habits? Because, like I said, it felt like he didn't trust his protection. His eyes were not progressing through the reads the way that he has all season long. He wasn't finding his checkdowns late in the down like he has been all season long. Those are not good things. Those are all bad quarterback play. Is this a blip, or is he going to bounce back from this performance next week? Like, based on everything I know about his mentality, I would bet on him bouncing back in the next game. But, I mean, it is a really tough defense where if you're not trusting your protection against Jacksonville, are you going to trust your protection against Myles Garrett, who can, like, literally teleport from the line of scrimmage to the quarterback? I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
I think I want to take it back just a second, because I do want to be clear. Like, it's probably going to sound like some of the people that we made some excuses for him just there, but we did give him a D- for a good reason, right? Like, he did miss a ton of throws, I thought, in this game. He was off. He was inaccurate. I thought his mechanics were sloppy. His footwork was bad. As you said, not trusting the protection, getting happy feet maybe when it didn't call for it on occasion when the protection was probably better than he thought it was. Or as you said, he thought it was about to break down, so he makes a mistake in his cycle, but it actually doesn't break down. And if he stuck with it, he could have stayed in the pocket and maybe found something. I also thought he wasn't decisive enough as a runner. Like early in that Seattle game, he pulls it down. He goes get 14 yards. He led the team in rushing in back-to-back games recently, and he did nothing as a runner in this game. And I thought there were a couple of opportunities maybe to do so. And again, it goes back to the process of him being late, because my read was if he had committed to it maybe half second earlier, there might have been opportunities to make something happen with his legs, but he didn't do that either. So just an all-around bad game for him.
Yeah, it was an all-around bad game. On the rushing front, like, I don't know that he necessarily could have done a lot more with his legs. The first time he really tried to scramble in this game was the play he got stripped on. And on that play, I posted it on Twitter. I was absolutely disgusted with J.C. Latham's effort on this play. And it's not the effort throughout the entire play. It's at the end of the play because J.C. Latham actually does a really nice job of picking up an outside stunt. He's with the initial guy who's crashing inside, and he rides him to the inside into his teammate, passes it off, picks up the stunt. But as he's picking up the looper, Cam is starting to take off up the middle, and it's I can't remember who the looper is now. Was it Hines Allen? I don't think it was Hines Allen. Whoever it is, no, it was Austin Johnson, former Tennessee Titan, Austin Johnson.
Legend, Austin. I can't believe he's still around. I love that for him.
He retraces really well the route that he just looped on and comes back and crashes into Cam. And J.C. Latham just lets him. And like, I've seen people tell me that I'm wrong about this. And look, I won't pretend to be an offensive line expert, so I'm not going to talk about Latham's technique, so to speak, on this play. But I will talk about the fact that he love taps him. Latham just like brings his arms up and like love taps him and then stops his feet and stops moving and then watches as his quarterback gets stripped, watches the ball bounce on the ground and then gets shoved from behind because he's not even involved in the like scrum for a loose fumble. When that happens, when the guy who's coming right at you, looping at you, is running right at you, and then he stops and goes back the other way, you got to react. You got to be like a guard looking for work in that situation. Give him a shove, hit him, make him feel you, finish the play, the effort to finish the play. And it wasn't the only play in this game where I felt like Latham needs to finish through the whistle. Paul Kuharsky pointed this out, I think, in the preseason, Justin, and I'm just going to say it. This doesn't have a lot to do with Cam Ward, but it does because it's his offensive line. Who's the mean, nasty guy on this offensive line? If you're a defensive lineman going up against... Exactly. If you're a defensive lineman going up against the Titans, who's the guy that you don't want to mess with? Who's the guy that's going to be the enforcer? The guy that's going to spit in your face at the bottom of the pile? Not that that's a good thing to do, but that's what happens in the NFL. I'm not condoning it. But the guy who's going to be clawing at you on the bottom of those scrums, the guy who's going to give you a pop at the end of the play, maybe unnecessarily, but just to send a message that you don't mess with us. We are going to out-physical you. There's nobody like that on this Titans offensive line. There's no nasty.
He's really good, but he's very quiet, and he's more of a technique guy than I think he's a nasty guy. Dan Moore is, I don't even know how I would characterize it, but I don't want to say nonchalant, but he's a guy who takes pride in doing his work, certainly, but doesn't have a nasty physical streak. I'd say the same about Lloyd Cushenberry. Kevin Zeitler, every time I wish they would stop interviewing Kevin Zeitler because it's like there was one earlier this year where he goes, no, I don't know. You don't know. We're all playing hard. It feels like every locker room I've ever been in, and we're just trying. And, just because the results aren't there doesn't mean we're not trying. And he just kind of says the same thing over and over again. He just doesn't seem to me like a nasty guy. And I was hoping that's what they were getting when you bring in a 14-year pro lineman who's been that good. You think that's what he is. But, hey, it's not always a bad thing per se, but my point is you need one of those guys though, right? Like we tend to put these guys in boxes, like everyone who's good is a leader. And that's not always the case. Tony Pollard's a prime example of that. He's not on the O-line. He's been a very good football player throughout his career, but he's a quiet, keep to himself, not going to be a rah-rah, not going to speak up and maybe hold guys accountable type of guy, right? And you need someone like that on the O-line. And right now, the makeup of it, they just don't have that guy. And I've thought about it a lot. How do you fix it? I don't know. Because most of these guys on that line are locked in, right? Like you're not getting rid of Dan Moore. You're not getting rid of Peter Skoronski. You're not getting rid of J.C. Latham. You're probably getting rid of Kevin Zeitler. And maybe you're getting rid of Lloyd Cushenberry. Maybe you use those opportunities to find the nasty guy who can kind of hold everyone accountable and bring this group together.
Just set a tone.
They don't have that guy, though. Yeah, they don't have a set the tone guy.
Right. Somebody with no teeth who's eating raw squirrel at practice. Somebody like that. A country boy
Ben
like
Jones, drinking his own pee and walking barefoot.
A Midwestern raised on corn and bread kind of guy who's just going to...
He was a Midwestern guy, and it turned out to be a lot of nothing.
Well, yeah, but Ben Jones. Like, Ben Jones isn't the nastiest guy, but he could be nasty on the field, and he'll run into a pile at the end of a play and pop you one and send a message and just set that physical
and he's
tone.
going to say something to you that makes you do a double take. Like, is this guy all there? This guy's insane, right? Like, they don't have that guy.
Yeah.
I quickly, we'll end soon with what does it mean moving forward. But I do want to talk really quickly about coaching because it's been on my mind today. And you talk about the offense and the staff and the surroundings. Like, Paul Kaharski had a great tweet today. I'm going to read it. I'm going to shorten it a little bit. But over the last 4 games, the Titans defense, okay, they rank first place in missed tackles, first in yards after contact. This will all shock you. 6th in rushing yards allowed, 7th in total yards allowed, 7th in sacks, 8th in third down efficiency, and 8th in yards after the catch. Where they've been bad is receiving yards and turnovers. They're near the bottom of the league in receiving yards allowed and turnovers forced. But the point is,
when you say when they rank first in missed tackles, like in a good way, or
the fewest amount of missed tackles over the last month in the entire NFL, okay? So essentially, over the last month, this defense has been top 10 in numerous categories. That is despite playing a bunch of waiver claims at cornerback, trading their best edge rusher, their most productive edge rusher, and Draymond Jones over that time period, right? How are they doing this? Denard Wilson is how they're doing it for the most part, in my opinion. I think Denard Wilson is a pretty good football coach, a darn good defensive coordinator, and despite the talent deficiencies, despite all the adversity, they have dealt Denard Wilson a crappy hand. They've ripped all the corners out of his grasp and said, you've got to play these guys instead because we traded everyone else, or we cut this guy, or this guy's on IR and we traded your best edge rusher because we wanted the draft pick. Like, they have treated Denard Wilson like crap, just the truth, right? The honest analysis of the situation. And he's just managed to respond by fielding a pretty respectable defense. The offense is not doing the same thing. Not even close to doing the same thing. The defense, and I think you can see it, they both have talent deficiencies, if you will. But the defense is well coached and playing well above their talent level, in my opinion. The offense is really poorly coached, and I would say playing below their talent level. I had a guy on Twitter start debate, good, debate discussion with me. I said the defense, I think, has less talent on it than the offense does. And he said, no way, that's not true at all. And I get, like, there are some things about the offense that there's no doubt that there's talent deficiencies there. But when I think about all the resources poured into this offensive line, and I know Calvin Ridley's hurt, but I think of the money that they were paying their wide receiver one, and it still looked really bad when he was healthy. And I know Tony Pollard hasn't played great, but I think of it from an on-paper perspective. Tony Pollard, 1,000-yard, expensive running back who they're paying well. And I compare that to the waiver wire cornerbacks on defense in the 6th-round pick. They're asking to play nickel. And the misfit of edge rushers, the Jihad Wards and James Lynch's, and what they're asking out of this edge group. Like, I think the defense is at more of a talent deficiency on paper than the offense is. Yet the offense is so much worse. And that's because they're not well coached. And by the way, it's a fact. It makes it even sadder, in my opinion. They're averaging more points under Mike McCoy than they were under Brian Callahan.
Like 0.8 of a point more, but yeah, I agree. And this, what you're saying is totally true. And what I've said for weeks and will continue to harp on is that, yeah, you draft a quarterback number 1 overall. You're hoping he is a guy who can carry your offense. I guess a tractor quarterback versus a trailer quarterback. He's the one pulling the offense versus being pulled by the offense. Maybe one day, right? 3 to 5 years down the line, you draft a number 1 overall pick. Maybe even as early as next year. But as a rookie, like, he needs help. He needs he needs easy button stuff. You watch the offense that Jackson Dart ran for the Giants last night. I know it wasn't great by any means. He did throw a 30-yard touchdown or whatever. But it's like the whole offense is like shotgun RPO, like doing the things that he actually did in college in the NFL. And that's not going to work long term. Defenses will catch on. I mean, hell, defenses are catching on. Defenses are going to continue to light Jackson Dart up every time he takes the ball past the line of scrimmage with it in his hands. But the point is that the offense, the offensive scheme is at least trying to do something to help him. Whereas I don't get that sense at all in the Titans offense. Again, the play action stuff. Where was play action in this game on Sunday? I get it. You're down 15-3, but you still ran the ball sometimes, which means play action theoretically should still have some effect. Your quarterback is better off play action. Let him do it. Where are the rolling pockets? There's like one or two maybe in this whole game. Like, your quarterback is better on the move, getting a chance to read a defense that has to flow left and right in a scramble drill type of situation. Set up plays that more or less reflect and create a scramble drill environment earlier in the down when you can still control what's happening. Like, just do more things that help him. RPOs, run some RPOs. I know you're telling me, oh, RPOs don't work in the NFL. Tell that to the Giants and tell that to the Washington Commanders and all these other teams that are running RPOs. And the last thing I'll leave you with, Brock Purdy goes 16 of 29 for 168 yards, 16 completions, 1 touchdown pass. His team wins 26-8. Okay? Sam Darnold goes 14 of 26 for 128 yards, 14 completions. His team wins 26-0. I know the opposing quarterback threw 4 INTs, but
undrafted free agent rookie quarterback making his first start.
But even still, like, yes, that set them up with short fields, and that's the reason the other team only scored 0 points. But you score 26 points with your quarterback throwing for 128 yards.
They had a pick 6, though, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. 17 and 19 points. The Bills, Josh Allen. I know Josh Allen does a lot with his legs, but as a passer, 15 completions on 23 attempts, 123 yards, 1 touchdown. You win 26-7. Like, it's like, how come other quarterbacks can win games by multiple scores, throwing for less than 160 yards? And Cam Ward...
It's not rocket science. Titans have a really bad football team, a bad roster, right? Like, that's why it doesn't happen. That's the answer to that question. We're going to end this episode with a short discussion because it's probably not, we're not the hot takey type, right? Like, what does it mean going forward? Well, nothing yet, right? Like,
nothing.
Performances like this is the context that this question deserves. It's not the hot take stuff that's going to drive you here, but what does it mean? This means nothing until performances like this start stacking, right? Like, if he has another one like this or another 2 like this in a row, he might have it against Myles Garrett. He has another 1 or 2 like these in a row, then it becomes more of maybe a discussion. But right now, he was just coming off the best game of his season, right? Against Seattle, against a top 5 defense in the NFL. As much as we wanted to see him build on that and stack good performances, well, now the conversation is don't stack bad performances, right? Because he couldn't build on it. You couldn't have another good performance. It was a bad performance. What's done is done, right? The hay's in the barn. But so now it boils down to moving forward, you got to avoid stacking bad performances. So, and if he has another bad one, we'll talk about it again. We'll give it a bad grade. We'll watch the All-22. We'll analyze what happened. We'll have measured, level-headed analysis, as we always do. But for now, it's just about watching the tape. And no one's harder on him than himself. We know he watched this tape. And because, if you saw it, he saw it, right? We know he's not happy about it. And he's typically the kind of guy that wants to come out and make up for it. He's angry. Now, the challenge is a real tough one against a stout Cleveland Browns defense on Sunday. But hopefully that anger drives him. Hopefully that anger leads to a better than expected performance, because that's what we got against a really good Seahawks team just a couple of weeks ago. So for me, it's just about flushing it and trying to do better.
Yeah, I'm with you. One more for you. Caleb Williams, 17 for 36. 17 for 36.
That was a terrible sloppy game, though. None of the offenses were good.
That's under 50%.
They beat the Super Bowl winner, though.
That's my point. Under 50% completion. 154 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. They win by 9 points against the defending Super Bowl champion. I mean, this is like, get this guy a real scheme. That you want to know what it means? It means absolutely nothing. If he does this every game for the rest of the year, it means absolutely nothing. This guy needs a real coaching staff and some real playmakers and a real run game and Jeremiah Love. Oops, that intrusive thought. Sorry. Or Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson, maybe if he can stay healthy. Or
Jordan Tyson at 35th overall.
Yeah, really. I mean, the injury red flags might push him there, or Makai Lemon, or any of these guys, or one of my new favorites, Casey Concepcion. I know, hook him. He's an Aggie, and we don't really want to bring Aggies onto the team. I guess whatever. I mean, he's a playmaker though, and you know what? Maybe you take Chim Dike off of the return game and you let Concepcion handle like half of them. Maybe you feel like you need a big return. Dike's been so good. You stick him back there sometimes too, but he has fumbled. You said yesterday, by the way, I want to correct you. You said he's made a bad mistake 2 weeks in a row on special teams. Last week, he caught a ball that was going out of bounds, or fumbled it out of bounds, and had to start the drive at the 3-yard line. This past game, he fumbles a kick return. He also muffed a punt the week before that. It's been 3 games in a row. And now he also returned a punt for a touchdown. But last week,
the same game that he had the fumble out of bounds, he returned one for a touchdown.
But he also so it's muff punt that led to himself getting injured and knocked out for the rest of that game. Luckily able to come back the next week where he muffs a punt or muffs a kickoff out of bounds and then returns a punt for a touchdown. It's like, okay, he's still returning punts for touchdowns. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. He's tied for the NFL lead in punt return touchdowns. Although did Marcus Jones just get to 2 on Monday night? Anyway, my point is you need playmakers around. I got lost in my point. Is you need playmakers around Cam Ward. You need a scheme that Ben Johnson just said the other day. The passing game is holding us back. The passing game is holding them back. You're 9-3. You just beat the defending Super Bowl champions.
He's right,
and the passing game,
and you should want to get better, right?
And you should want to get better, of course. Right. And my point is, I want Cam Ward to be in a situation, and we all do, where he can throw for 154 yards and a touchdown and win a game by 2 scores.
I'm going to end you there. The last point you said, one of the last points you were trying to say there before you went on a ramble, is that the coaching staff, right? He needs a real coaching staff. Yeah. Well, we'll be back tomorrow to talk about a couple of coaches that might be candidates who you and I have mentioned before in passing, but a new report out there that the Titans essentially have looked at them. And we're going to talk about those 2 candidates, and I want to talk about something that Jeffrey Simmons said. We talked about it a little bit, but about building this culture. I want to talk about a couple alternative candidates that might fit the Jeffrey Simmons description of building culture. So in short, we're going to talk about a lot of coaching candidates tomorrow because Jeffrey Simmons had something super interesting to say, and we got a really good national report about 2 potential candidates. We're only a month away from starting interviews. Titans are going to start interviewing guys in January, so it feels like a good time for another coaching episode. We'll be back with that tomorrow, and then Thursday, we've got the great Mark Sessler coming on the show to talk a little Titans, Browns, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. We're going to have fun with Mark. It's not going to be a full-blown Titans Browns preview because who the hell wants to do that? But we will talk. It's a fun heed the call Music City Audible crossover. I'll throw it to you before I sign us off.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was going to jump in before you got to Thursday because I wanted to say, and tomorrow, I will give you guys, maybe you care. I will give you my December 3rd, 2025 shortlist, top 3 candidates I am most interested in on December 3rd. That has room to change. So it's a process. Nothing set in stone. By January 3rd,
it's going to be different. We'll give it to you again.
By January 3rd, it might be 3 different names, or maybe the same 3 names in a different order. But I have narrowed down currently who I would like the Titans to hire to 3 guys, and we'll see what happens there. But we're also going to talk about all the other candidates you mentioned as well. So that'll do it for this episode of the Music City Audible podcast. Thanks to all of you, as always, for tuning in. We appreciate you guys more than you know. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, drop your comments below. What do you think it means for Cam Ward? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean anything, so don't let us know that. But just drop your comments below. Algo comments, always appreciated. And thank you again to Sinkers Beverages for sponsoring the channel. Until tomorrow, is that it? Any last words?
Y'all stay safe out there. And tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.